This is the OnePlus Buds. They're clearly inspired, to put it nicely, by Apple AirPods. I've been using these for a few days, but reading and watching through reviews online, it's pretty clear opinions on these buds so far have been pretty mixed. And that's really weird because I've used each of the prior OnePlus wireless headsets and I've really liked each of them. I reviewed every single one of these on this channel. And I was so excited to see these released, but it seems so disheartening to think that these OnePlus buds might suck. Fortunately, they don't. I actually really like these. Hey guys, this is Titus, and today we're gonna be reviewing the OnePlus Buds, and we're gonna be comparing them to AirPods, my favorite earbuds, the AirPods Pro, and the released a few months ago OnePlus Bullets Wireless Z. Before we move forward, I just wanna mention that I am a OnePlus brand ambassador, but I wanna assure you I did purchase these with my own money, and I will do my best to give you my honest opinion on these buds. I'll just say right now, these are really nice buds, but they're not perfect. There's some flaws here. First, let's talk design. The case has a matte finish, which I like, but it does feel a little cheap, like a thinner plastic than they used on the AirPods. And if you haven't noticed already, they do bear a striking resemblance to AirPods with a nearly identical LED light on the front, as well as a pairing button on the back. The case itself is thicker, taller, and wider than the AirPods case, but they feel fine in my pocket. Not quite as unnoticeable as AirPods, but with that extra case comes extra battery life, and yeah, it's not a bad trade-off. And listen to that snap. That's a nice snap. This is the AirPods snap for comparison, and this is the OnePlus snap. Both are pretty satisfying. The buds themselves feel premium, definitely on par with AirPods in terms of the actual build quality, with a few little design tweaks here and there. I have met a few people that said they can't use AirPods because they fall out of their ears. OnePlus buds are a little bigger and they go a little deeper into your ears, so if that's you might have better luck with the OnePlus buds in terms of fit. These are IPX certified, which basically means you can sweat in them with no issues. They do offer 3 color options. This is the white one, and that's the only one that's available at the time of this video, but they're also releasing a black version and a blue version. I went back and forth listening to the AirPods, the AirPods Pro, the OnePlus Buds, and the OnePlus Bullet Z, and it's really tough to say which of these has the best sound quality. I'm not saying these all sound the same because they all have a different sound signature to them, but they all sound great for different reasons that I don't really know how to verbalize. But what I will say about the OnePlus Buds is there are definitely certain parts of songs that sounded clearer and more crisp to my ears than AirPods. Again, just slightly. I really like the sound that the OnePlus Buds produce. It's definitely a premium sound, no doubt. You will definitely be pleased. If I rank these in terms of sound quality, I think in last place I would put AirPods. Don't get mad, it's really close. Then I'd put the Wireless Zs in third place. I think they just do a better job sealing out the background world with the rubber tips, and it makes me just a tad bit more like them. Then in second place, I would put the OnePlus Buds just a tad in front of the other two. I just think there's a little bit more quality happening there, and maybe it's because they're going a little deeper in my ears than AirPods, and that might be helping here. And finally, my favorite Bluetooth headphones, AirPods Pro. Man, they're just so good. The noise cancellation just allows me to hear every detail of my music, and it just makes them stand out. Comfort-wise, these are great. I think they feel just as comfortable to me as AirPods. I might just give the edge to AirPods because they are just a little bit smaller and lighter, but the extra weight on the OnePlus Buds is not really noticeable at all. If I were to rank these 4 in terms of comfort, last place would be the Wireless Zs, then the AirPods and the OnePlus Buds basically tie in my eye. And that puts the AirPods Pro as my favorite. Again, it's really close, and I'm sure that your rankings, if you were using these, would be different than mine because you have different ears than me, but that's how I feel. The OnePlus Buds also have excellent battery life. They last about 7 hours with just the buds themselves, which seems about right. I put them in my ears almost my entire workday, and I didn't have any issues with battery life. Also, they have 30 hours of battery when fully charged in the case, and according to OnePlus, with their fast charging, you can get 10 hours of battery life in just 10 minutes of charging the case. To be honest, I wanted to test those claims, the 30 hours of battery life as well as the 10 hours in 10 minutes, but even after a couple of days of using these things, I could not get the battery to drain. I used them non-stop for hours and hours and hours. The battery life on these things is just fantastic. OnePlus has a great reputation for fast charging, and I think regardless, you're gonna be happy with the battery life. If I do find out that any of these claims are not true, I will post something on my YouTube channel. You can feel free to subscribe and enable notifications. So if I do post something, another little update on this review, I will put it there. OnePlus does make the setup process a bit easier if you're using a OnePlus device. Just open the case and a pop-up will emerge. Very nice. I love that simple touch. If you're not using a OnePlus phone, then they work like any other Bluetooth headset. You just hold the back button and they're set up like a normal device. The controls work well. By default, double tapping either bud will skip to the next track. But if you have a newer OnePlus device, you can customize what the double tap functions do on each bud. Perhaps you want to make one that triggers the voice assistant and the other to play or pause your music. I will be honest here, I do kind of wish it had single tap like AirPods do instead of the double tap, but it doesn't, and I don't really feel like that's a deal breaker personally. But a really nice feature that I've seen on AirPods before, pulling out an earbud will pause the music seamlessly. I did see a review online that claimed that you couldn't just use one bud and then pull that single bud out to pause what you're listening to and put it back in to start playing it again. I have tried this single bud experience and it actually does work. Using one bud and pulling it out will pause your music, and putting it back in will start playing it. And that's really great for me because I like listening to podcasts and audiobooks, and I feel like I don't really need both ears for that. Now, I'm not calling that reviewer a liar, but that could explain some of the negative reviews that I'm seeing out there. Perhaps on day one when OnePlus released these, they also released some firmware that fixed some of the issues these early reviewers were having. But that could also pose a problem if you're buying these and don't have a OnePlus device to update your firmware. From what I've read online, you need to connect these to a OnePlus device to actually get updates on your OnePlus buds. And to be completely honest, I have no idea what firmware these actually ship to me with, because when I got them out of the box, I connected them to my OnePlus 8, and I'm pretty sure it immediately updated them to the latest firmware, and I never saw what the prior experience was like. Anyway, just something to think about. There are definitely more features to discuss though. Holding down on either bud for 3 seconds can switch these buds to connect to a different device. So you could connect these to your phone and your laptop and easily switch between them as you wish. OnePlus does have a low latency mode for these as well. This is something they also released on the wireless Zs, where you can get a latency of around 100 milliseconds when you connect these to a newer OnePlus device. I use an app called Audio Tester, and OnePlus's claim, it was about right. It was about 100 milliseconds of latency, which is pretty nice. They say on the site that you need to enable Fanatic mode to get that to work, but with the Audio Tester app, it actually didn't seem to change the latency at all if I use gaming mode or Fanatic mode. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's really cool nonetheless. They do have an option to help you find your OnePlus buds that works on newer OnePlus phones. If you've misplaced either the right or left bud, you can send out a ringing sound and that will help you find it. Now, I did try these on an Android device that isn't a OnePlus phone as well, and they worked about as well as you might expect. Now, you're gonna miss out on some unique OnePlus features, but things like pulling them out of your ear to pause and play things, that actually works. Double tapping the skip tracks works. You can't change what each double tap does, but you know, I think it's fine. It works. Now, one thing I was really excited about when I saw these was the environmental cancellation that I saw straight on their website, because I thought OnePlus was going after the big dog. I was just like, oh snap, they're going right past AirPods to AirPods Pro and got that noise cancellation that I love so much in these. That's 79 bucks. It's on. Things were about to get very interesting. And yeah, that's not what this is at all. These have no noise cancellation at all. I'm not bitter. Environmental cancellation actually is referring to the microphones in the buds themselves when you have to talk to someone on the phone, and ideally they should do a great job of letting people hear you and not your surroundings. And the truth is, the mics on these work fine. People can hear me just fine. They're not like, what'd you say? What'd you say? What'd you say? But they're not amazing. AirPods are the gold standard when it comes to the mics in these kind of earbuds, and the AirPods were just flat out better. Now, they didn't blow the OnePlus Buds out of the water. They were comparable, sure, but the AirPods were noticeably better. I don't know, maybe OnePlus can do some software updates to get them a little bit closer to the AirPod quality. I did run into some bugs that I want to mention real quick. The switching feature where you hold down the buds for 3 seconds to get it to switch from one device to another just flat out didn't work at first. After I connected it to a third device, it started working fine, and I have no idea why. I've seen a couple of times where if I was using one bud, or if I would take one bud and put it back in the case, all of a sudden it would tell me one of my buds were at 0% battery life, which just wasn't the case. I also tested the OnePlus Buds on an iPhone, and the controls where you were tapping these or pulling them out of your ears to pause just flat out didn't work, and it kind of bummed me out. But then later I had to test something else with these, and I connected them to the iPhone again, and all of a sudden things started working a lot better. Again, I have no idea what happened. Since I made 2 different videos about how well AirPods work on Android, I'm gonna do the reverse. I'm gonna make a totally separate video about how well these OnePlus Buds work on iPhones. You might be wondering why someone might buy OnePlus Buds for their iPhone. $80, that's why. They're literally half the price. Please subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss that video. You might be surprised how well these work on iPhones. That video should be out in just a couple of days. This last quirk isn't really a bug, but you can't activate Google Assistant with just your voice. You actually have to set it as one of your double tapping on your bud options if you want to use that feature with these buds. These issues that I'm mentioning are mostly small bugs and nitpicks, and I'm sure that OnePlus can sort some of these out through firmware, assuming you have a OnePlus device to get that firmware update, that is. I really wish that OnePlus would open up another way for people to get these firmware updates on their buds if they don't have a OnePlus device. Yeah, they might have a friend that will let them borrow their phone for a few minutes, but it would be a lot more convenient if they can go to the site or something and download the firmware and maybe just plug them into their computer or something and get the firmware updates that way. I gotta be honest here, after my experience with the OnePlus Buds, I really like these things. They're pretty awesome. They're a great AirPod alternative for Android phones, and as I mentioned before, I have a video, actually 2 videos, where I try to use AirPods on Androids, and these are made for Android, and they work much better. If you are curious how well AirPods work on Android, you can check out that video in the description. I have a link down there. But with the OnePlus Buds, I don't see recommending AirPods to any Android users anytime soon. And they're only $79. I did not think for a second when I heard that these were coming out that they would launch at that low of price. They are literally half the price of AirPods, $80 less than the lowest price AirPods. There is another version of AirPods that have a wireless case, that's even more money, and if you want the Pro versions, that's even more money, although those are pretty nice. Now, it really has me scratching my head at some of the reviewers out there that have been really critical of these. Now, as I mentioned before, it could have been a firmware thing, or maybe they've been so critical of these because, I mean, they do bear a pretty striking resemblance to AirPods, and that might not leave a great taste in some people's mouths. I'm not here to defend OnePlus's decision to create a very similar product to AirPods. It's not the first time that Apple has been mimicked, and it definitely won't be the last. I honestly think that if OnePlus had launched just the black versions of these exclusively and didn't do a white version, people might not realize how similar these are to AirPods. Maybe perhaps they would see these as the dark alter ego to AirPods, because they do look really slick in black. Now, I kind of do wish these had noise cancellation. I understand that for $79, they may not have been able to fit that feature in that price point, but if they had, that might be actually nice little alternatives to my AirPods Pro here, which still are my favorite Bluetooth earbuds. Hey OnePlus, maybe a OnePlus Buds Pro should be in the near future. Just a thought. Maybe just make them a little more unique next time. All in all, if you're looking for an equivalent of AirPods for your OnePlus phone or your Android phone, I definitely would recommend checking these things out. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. It definitely helps a bunch. I'm Titus, by the way, and I will see you next time.